I went to Garfield High School in Seattle, Washington. The high school was extremely diverse, and there were people from all walks of life attending the high school. Something that unified us all, whether it be positive or not, was the almost hegemonic synchronization with music most of the school listened to. My freshman year, we were bumping Gucci Mane and Waka Flocka. Really, the beginning of trap music in Atlanta becoming popular stayed hand in hand with what we listened to. Social media had just really started to roll out, where platforms like Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram allowed for us to showcase the music we listened to. Right, this is around 2013. Two rap movements in the US at the time really is what I associate with my high school experience. Like I said earlier, trap music out of Atlanta was one of those two movements, and the second one was the Chicago drill era, which first started when Chicago rapper Chief Keef blew up online with songs like Don't Like and Hate Being Sober. Both the Atlanta trap music era and the Chicago drill music era have become foundations for much of the music and culture that is present today. Now, for those who aren't aware, the Atlanta trap era was really started by people like Gucci Mane, T.I., and you could argue maybe Waka Flocka later on, but in the late 2000s to mid 2010s, that's when Gucci and T.I. kind of really started to pop off, and it was a reflection of what was going on in Atlanta, and still is to this day. Atlanta had been notoriously known, and still is to this day, as a massive drug dealing hub in the southeast region of the country, given its geolocation. Chicago is similar in this way, but we'll get to Chicago here in a sec. But in Atlanta, trap music was created because it's music about selling drugs in a trap house, or that's originally where the name came from. Now, obviously, as trap music developed over time, the term trap music started to acquire associated characteristics of the type of music. For example, most trap beats consist of heavy-hitting 808 drum beats in the kick, snare, clap, and hi-hat. But the content of trap music consists of being a street businessman or woman, salvaging whatever is left of the dying American dream and getting money via the sale of illegal drugs. Now, in my sophomore year of high school, right, Chief Keef, aka Big Sosa, was a 16-year-old rapper from the south side of Chicago. His songs blew up on YouTube, and most of the country who listened to the rap was bumping songs like Don't Like and Hate Being Sober, as well as Love Sosa, Finito, we can go on and on, right? Just for context, this was in 2013, and Chicago's crime and murder rate was getting so bad that through the Chicago drill music era, the name Chiraq became popularized in reference to parts of Chicago, really south side of Chicago, being like a war zone in Iraq. In 1996, the year I was born, major RICO cases against massive gangs like the Gangster Disciples, the GDs, in Chicago occurred. Around 38 high-up leaders in the GD organization were indicted and sent to prison. The famous Larry Hoover, who was running the GD organization from prison since he was convicted all the way back in 1973, was sentenced to 6 lifetime prison sentences and was moved to the notorious Supermax prison in Colorado, where he was unable to run the GD organization. These mass arrests of the older leadership of the different gangs in Chicago, like the GDs, created a power vacuum. The theory that many have when it comes to the heightened violence in Chicago from the 2010s on is that when the police cut the head off the snake, figuratively speaking, by arresting the leadership of the different gangs, the once disciplined, structured, profit-focused criminal organizations were reduced to fragmented gangs made up of mainly very young people. What came from the disassemblement of leadership from the old guard of gang leaders was a place of chaos that wasn't disciplined on the goal of utilizing the illegal drug trade to climb the economic ladder. Now, the first era of drill music started in the early 2010s in Chicago. The name drill music comes from the idea of running drills against your ops or your opponents. Many songs from the Chicago drill era consist of songs that are dissing opposing gangs in Chicago. These diss songs in many instances would reference actual murders, dissing deceased individuals. In many ways, the Chicago drill music era was popularized nationally and internationally with the advent of social media and streaming platforms like YouTube. And this only poured gasoline on the fire increasing as well as glorifying the gun violence that was going on. The problem today is that with the success of both the Atlanta trap era and the Chicago drill era, the financial incentive and commercial popularity has been revealed. Now the record labels have seen the massive profits from the rappers that emerged initially from both of these eras. The incentive to invest in music, that in many ways can be extremely destructive, is at an all-time high. And it's also something we need to ask ourselves, why is the public so into drill music? In a lot of ways, I think you could say that because, audiences really want the real deal shit, even if it's about some psycho low-key murder shit, which, I think that us as consumers need to really look at ourselves. And the thing is, the new New York era, the New York drill era, right, which is, based off of London drill, right? The drill movement has gone all around the world. But, there's a lot of violence that has been connected to the music, right? So, like I said, the music is definitely not causing these problems, but it definitely could serve as a catalyst to, pour some gasoline on the fire. Recently, the newly elected mayor of New York, Eric Adams, actually came out and said this about drill.
Mayor Adams met with a group of drill rap artists last night. He's criticized the music genre for contributing to the rising violence in the city.
But as CBS 2's Andrea Klein-Thomas explains, the mayor and the rappers were able to come to an agreement.
There's been a lot of talk about drill rap, drill music, New York City, connecting violence with the culture.
Late Tuesday evening, drill rappers met with Mayor Eric Adams, who's been critical of their music, saying it's causing a spike in violence. But Brooklyn rapper Bleezy says the meeting was productive.
And we got a chance to speak to him as brothers, as we should, and we got a perfect understanding of what's going on.
Drill rap came under renewed scrutiny after 18-year-old artist Jaquan McKinley's murder earlier this month, leading Mayor Adams to call for the music's removal from social media.
Violent people who are using drill rapping to post who they killed and then antagonize the people who they are going to kill is what the problem is.
People look at the videos or listen to the lyrics and stuff, it's going to be characterized as, talking about guns, talking about money, talking about...
But that's just a music period in every genre.
While Bleezy admits some artists go too far.
If you ain't experienced poverty, you shouldn't even have your opinion on anybody moment.
Bleezy says he focuses on the hardships in Brownsville, adding addressing the real root of violence goes well beyond any lyrics.
The community is like, it's like, there's no hope, there's no opportunities. No, we just making music so we could get out of these places.
The meeting with Mayor Adams ended with a handshake. The mayor said that a new initiative in partnership with the rappers will be rolled out in a few days. Andrea Klein-Thomas, CBS 2 News.
And the mayor admits to just learning about the genre of music from his son and said he was happy to speak to the various artists.
Start with the New York City mayor and his call on social media to ban drill rap videos in an effort to fight crime. First of all, drill rap is defined as a style of rap that is dark and violent, and meaning having little to no regard for human life. Murder music, essentially. Drill rap has been tied to the surge of violence in Chicago, where it originated. And now the mayor of New York took aim at it over the weekend, saying social media companies play a role in squashing the violence.
And we are going to pull together the social media companies and sit down with them and state that you have a civic and corporate responsibility.
So politicians trying to cancel rap seems quite familiar. We've seen this before. We've heard this song before. Tonight, my guests talk the mayor's proposal. We start with legendary rapper Willie D of the Ghetto Boys.
Like, instead of a lot of these politicians, talking to the youth, they like to come at the youth. The youth in hip-hop, since its inception, has always been the low-hanging fruit. So they like to attack hip hop because they feel like they can get some easy points. They don't they don't respect the kids' opinion. They don't respect the youths. They don't respect their feelings, their pain. They don't respect their music. But then they say the kids are so disrespectful. The generation is lost. Well, if they're lost, who lost them? The generation before them. And it's people just like him who is a bigger problem. Instead of like talking after you, he's making the same mistake that people like C. Dolores Tucker made, when in the 90s with hip hop, reality rap. It's the same thing. It's the same. He's reading from the same playbook. For some of those voters out there that are older, when they hear, oh yeah, it's the youth, it's the youngsters, it's the music, get them. Instead of going after the cause, instead of looking at the cause, why are these young kids out here making this type of music? And and why is it that they even have a fan base in the first place? It's got to be something there. So why not go deeper and try to and try to remedy the cause as opposed to the reaction?
Let's bring Todd Smith into this conversation. You agree with what Willie D's saying, or should these rappers be held accountable?
I agree with what Willie says. The only thing I agree with Mayor Adams is, I think with social media, he wants to go at social media companies for not maybe applying their rules to some of the rappers. And he said that, Trump got kicked off of social media because he didn't follow the rules, which I agree he needed to be kicked out on. And from that angle, I understand where he's coming from. But like Will said, the problem is a lot deeper than just the music. I grew up on Will's music. I was a little kid when Mom Playing Tricks on Me came out, and when C. Dolores Tucker did what she did, and when Tipper Gore did what she did. And I just remember, I never listened to the music and said I wanted to do what they said was going on. Just like when I watch a gangster movie, and I'm a huge gangster movie fan, as a child, I never wanted to go out and commit a crime. And if you look at New York, the birthplace of hip hop, Bronx, New York, in the 70s, before hip hop reached the mainstream, before there was anything known as a reality rap or a gangster rap, the murder rates and the crime rates were a lot higher than it was in the 90s and 2000s and 2010s and 20s. So hip hop might be violent in its lyrics, but I don't think that has a necessarily a correlation with violence in the streets. If you look at the numbers, and it's just it's a distraction. Like Will said, there's a lot of it goes back to the environment that the people come from. If they have opportunities, they don't have to go out into the streets and look for it. I was blessed to have parents, strong father and mother, who, even though I listened to that type of music, always knew that that's not for me. I had family members in certain neighborhoods that might have gotten involved in certain things, but I was blessed enough to have a father in a home. I was blessed enough to have good out of school activities because I was in the suburbs and Inwood. So a lot of times it's deeper than music. Music is, I think a lot of times the rappers can do something positive with their music, but at the same time, it doesn't cause anybody to go kill somebody. I listen to Tupac all the time. I never want to go shoot nobody. You know what I mean? I listened to NWA as a youngster. I never wanted to go shoot nobody. I watched Scarface, Goodfellas. But so people have to stop making excuses. Like Will said, look at the root of the problem. There are not a lot of jobs in the inner cities. There's a lot of police brutality. It's not a lot of food. So what do you expect people to do? They're going to look to violence to survive by any means necessary. And art just imitates life. And a lot of times life ain't beautiful. You know what I mean? And sometimes rappers and movies portray that. And a lot of times people in power want to ignore that reality instead of fixing the problem.
So Willie,
Isaiah,
go ahead.
I mean, if Adams, what's his name again? What's his first name?
Eric Adams.
Look, if Eric Adams really was sincere about like attacking these rappers and going after the music and holding these social media companies accountable, I was always taught that seeing is believing. So I wouldn't just, if I'm gonna go after the rappers, okay, I'll go after the rap, I'm gonna go after the music. But first, me being a smart gentleman that I am, I would go after the social media companies for showing murder on these videos on their platforms. They actually show murder. They show police murdering people on these video platforms. They actually show fights, people beating each other up, committing suicide and all kinds of things. Why isn't he talking about that? Because he knows that's not the low-hanging fruit. He knows that the social media companies ain't about to give that up. They're not going to give that up. And he can't do anything about it. So what he's doing is he's like listening to the gaslighting that goes on. Hip-hop has always been the target of American angst since its inception. They're going to always come after the hip-hop. They always come after the youth. And they wonder why the youth are so disrespectful, because they won't talk to the youth. They don't want to have a conversation. They're afraid of the youth. So what they do, they sit back on their high horses and they make decisions about the young people's lives without asking the young people how they feel or including them in the discussion. And that's what he's doing. And if he really was really serious about really like stopping some violence and all this stuff, he would increase his annual budget. The city of New York has a $102.8 billion budget, annual budget. Guess how much money is allocated towards mental illness? $5 million. $4.1 million allocated towards homelessness. You know, like improving the homeless situation, street homelessness. This dude ain't concerned about no damn the people in his city. He's trying to get some easy points. I don't trust him. Get him out of there.
I want to make it clear that we should never blame the music for our own actions, but rather for us to be aware of the power and influence popular music can have on our communities, while also understanding that the content of the music is a product of our reality. Music that glorifies the streets and crime is a sign of systematic problems in our economy as well as our overall society. I will forever love the music I was raised on, but the older I get, the more apparent it is to me that much of that music at times glorifies things that shouldn't be glorified. But that's not the problem. We need to realize that this music being popularized, music that I grew up on, it's a sign. It's a sign that we need to fix the many broken systems that U.S. capitalist hegemony has created domestically and internationally. Like what rapper Willie D said in the previous clip that I just showed, we need to address the root cause of the problem, address the economic needs of the people, and create opportunities. These politicians will try and blame things like the music or other surface level bullshit, because it's much easier to do that than look at fixing the root cause of the problem. Atlanta trap music and Chicago drill music are products of the economic inequities in America. If you look at the mainstream adoption of social media starting in 2010 and take into account the 2008 financial crisis occurring where millions of Americans lost their house or went bankrupt, music about selling drugs, making money illegally, becoming popular doesn't seem that unexpected. Trap music is a product of the war on drugs and the lack of economic opportunity. Drill music is a product of the war on drugs and the mass incarceration of working class Americans, particularly people of color. The politicians have abandoned the working class, abandoned the many communities around the country plagued with poverty. While the rise of trap music and drill music is more complicated than simply getting everyone a job and a living wage, it's a damn good place to start. I will always love trap music and I'll always love drill music, but the older I get, the more I realize these are two subgenres that absolutely represent some of the major problems Americans face today. Whether that's economic hardships, the war on drugs, mass incarceration, lack of opportunity, and the proliferation of social media, we can never blame the music. Rather, look at our corrupt politicians. Rather, look at ourselves for voting for those corrupt politicians. Or rather realize the content within music and media that is popular today is a reflection of what is going on in real life. Anyways, if you guys like this video, please let me know what you guys think down below. Please hit the like button. Please share this. We'd love to hear what you think of this video in the comments. This is kind of an overview. I know this is kind of all over the place, but at the end of the day, we need to look at the root of the issue. Let's not blame symptoms. Let's not blame products that are created from systems. Let's look at what is actually going on. What is the root of it? What caused it? And like I said, this is nothing to do with downing on trap music or drill music. It's like music. It's the music I listen to every single day. But the older I get, the more I think about this. What do you think? Let me know down below. Anyways, this is LMC signing out.